Welcome to Assurance Unplugged, where we make audit, risk, and compliance matters as human as possible. Today, we get to talk about topical requirements that are a new mandatory component within the IPPF framework. So remember, we talked about topical requirements being they sort of provide guidance into specific topics. So assume you have your audit plan, and within that particular year, you said you'll cover cybersecurity review. So we have a cybersecurity topical requirement that was issued on 5th of February 2025 and becomes effective a year later. So talk of 2026 February 5th. Now, what it means is when doing an assurance review, you're expected to actually look at the requirements within the topical requirements and actually do your assessments from that in terms of checking the effectiveness of controls in that particular space. Remember, when we're doing quality assessments, this will be one of the components that will be actually be referenced to. So they're actually recommended but not required now for advisory services. Remember, we have assurance services and advisory services. So given it's a new component that we're getting into, what is currently happening is the Institute of Internal Auditors is issuing this particular topical requirements for our comments and public participation. Then after we give our comments, they're able to now refine it into a good documentation and good controls and good checks in there, then issue it out. So far we've talked about cybersecurity has been issued. Remember, third party was issued for comments just this year, but now it's expected to be issued in September of this particular year. Then currently public consultation is out for public participation and consultation. So this has been open since 8th of July and it closes today. So today is the last day you have an opportunity to actually give feedback in terms of what are some of the areas you think are coming out strongly, what do you feel should be improved on, and all that. Yeah, so I'll just go a bit into organizational behavior. When we talk about organizational behavior, remember the bit around there's something we call culture. Yeah. So culture are the norms, the systems, the values of an organization. So how an organization shows up, how divisions within an organization show up. And this has been one of the areas that we have really struggled to review as assurance providers and internal auditors because they're the silent things, they're the unsaid things, they're the things that are not easily determinable or testable. Yeah, so it's really a topic that's not that mature. So it's sort of providing a bit of meat to how we go out and do these particular reviews. Remember, the purpose of topical requirements is to ensure that we are sort of standardizing or trying to see certain components being looked at in a similar manner across different organizations. So think of our context as Kenya. If you're looking at an organization in Kenya and you're reviewing with organizational behavior, it should be similar to how you're reviewing the organizational behavior of an entity outside Africa. Think of even the States. So it would mean we are sort of bringing some level standardization to some of our reviews. So of course there'll be elements that will differ from organization to organization, but to enable us have bare minimum or the minimum of what is expected of us, that's why we have the topical requirements. So this is just supposed to help us put everything into context. Yeah. So we've known that we've had quite a number of cultural deficiencies that usually result in a number of significant control failures. So this is an area that has not really gained so much traction in terms of internal audit reviews. And some of the key terminology that are defined within the organizational behavior context are behavioral risk. Yeah. So this is just the risk that the behavior is inconsistent within an organization strategic, with an organization strategic objective. So organization wants to move towards Z, but the behaviors that are there or some of the behaviors that are there are heading towards A. Yeah. In the opposite direction, in a different direction. Yeah. Then conduct is in terms of behavior with relation to the regulatory requirements and expectations. In the Kenyan context, think of the different regulators within the different industries and sectors that we have. Yeah. Then culture. Remember when you talk about culture, it's how the beliefs within a certain organization, the shared values, the shared behavior patterns, and the drivers that shape really the interaction and decision making and the organizational dynamics within that particular organization. Then when you talk about organizational behavior, you're talking about the things that you can see, yeah? So the observable actions, the decisions, and the interpersonal dynamics of the different individuals and groups within that particular entity. And of course, that goes ahead to influence even how the organization performs and how the individuals perform and show up, and in terms of also the achievement of the particular strategic objectives. Okay? Then in terms of values, these are simply the principles that just show us how we should behave or how we are expected to actually behave. Yeah. Then in terms of now the organizational behavior itself, there are certain key elements or guides that are given within the topical requirement itself, and they are in three forms. Remember, when you're usually talking about internal audit and assurance, three key elements are usually mentioned. GRC. GRC to mean governance, risk management, and controls. Governance to just mean what is our baseline? Yeah. So, what are the baseline objectives and strategies that organizational behavior is expected to support in terms of organizational goals, policies, and procedures? Then, in terms of risk management, what are some of the processes that we need to identify? We need to identify the processes, analyze them, manage them, and monitor risks that are related to now organizational behaviors. Yeah, including the processes we have to monitor and now escalate incidents that actually occur. Yeah. Then in terms of controls, remember the management first line is responsible for establishing controls. So are these periodically evaluated? Yeah. To just ensure that we are mitigating the risks that are related to organizational behavior. So in terms of the considerations, if we go into governance, it's simply we are supposed to assess the governance processes and how they could be applied to organizational behavior. And we need to be able to review the structural roles and responsibilities that ensure the board maintains its visibility and influence over the different behavioral dimensions of the organization. So as an internal auditor, you'll be looking for within the organization, the different committees that are set up, how do they execute their governance mandate? Yeah. So there should be a board or subcommittee that really that has clear terms of reference and that looks into organizational behavior oversight and even strategic delivery that is linked to the same. We should also be able to see reviews of behavioral risk indicators and how they align to the long-term business goals that the organization has. Then we should also be able to see the objectives in terms of the executive performance evaluations and remuneration. Yeah. Then in terms of board reporting frameworks, we should be able to have this in place. So this will enable us to get insights into the different behavioral risk indicators using the dashboards and reports that management is able to present to the board. Then we'll also be looking at how we've integrated culture-related matrices into the strategic performance reporting at the Then now in terms of stakeholder feedback mechanisms, think of surveys. Yeah. So feedback that is being given. So that's part of what we'll be checking. Then think of risk appetite, whether this has been set out in terms of organizational behavior, what is acceptable, what is not. Then in terms of regular reporting around the indicators, is this being done? Yeah. Then in terms of modeling of the desired behaviors and just maintaining a psychologically safe environment, is that in place? Yeah. Then speak of the aspect of when we speak to risk management, we should be able to look at the risk management processes that are applied within organizational behavior, and we should be able to look at, do we even have a behavioral risk management process that will now go ahead and define the different critical strategic objectives that are influenced by behavioral risks. Yeah. Then this would now even include the roles and responsibility of the ERM and governance frameworks with regard to now the reporting lines that we have that should now be independent and not being influenced. Yeah. Then the ability to even use data analytics to identify some of these trends, anomalies, and emerging risks that exist around that process. Yeah. Then in terms of engagement with business leaders to shape culture through influence, it shouldn't just be more enforcement, but there should be discussions around the same. Then there should be continual collection of data around the same. How do we do this? Think of surveys, think of having whistleblower channels, the reports to just help with this. Then also in terms of checking timely monitoring of the process, this should be something that we should be able to pick out if it's there or not. If not present, we should be able to call that out. Then in terms of control processes, we should be able to assess how control processes are applied to mitigate risk that organizational behavior is not actually aligned to strategic objectives. As internal auditors, we need to be able to review behavioral risk reviews to be able to understand the risk that's driven by current organizational culture and how management is actually mitigating some of these. Then we should also be able to review structured feedback processes to be able to just understand how management uses it to communicate behavioral expectations. So let's say management does surveys. Is there root cause analysis that's done, discussions with the team to say, this is what we've been able to identify as a team through the surveys. What should we do about it? Yeah, sitting together as a team and coming up with action plans that will actually be worked on as a team. Now, in terms of escalation within the organization, just to encourage early risk identification and mitigation, yeah. Then disincentive programs, just to align with the organization's desired behaviors, yeah, and strategic objectives. So are we rewarding a behavior that is in line with the organization? Yeah. Then how do we integrate positive reinforcement and corrective actions to enable us cultivate proactive behavior that is able to allow us to achieve our strategic objectives and also the regulatory requirements that are in place. Okay. Then do we have training programs just intended to influence behavior and be able to link now what is expected from a risk appetite point of view and the behavioral expectations that we have so that we are aligned? Are we telling our staffs what we expect from them, or are we assuming? Yeah. So we should be able to